What the fuck is up? Wow. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
You know, you missed out on the Mike Vanderbilt episode. I feel like you really would have enjoyed him, but
I know.
we will
That was a
have
good show.
yeah, we'll have him back for sure. It's funny how we just kind of take a break for no reason. Like
Yeah,
it's probably for a reason, but like I think collectively we all just were like, okay, we just shot out 4 episodes in a row. You
yeah.
know,
It's like mutually, silently agreed upon that we were
yeah,
all kind of busy at the same time, but
yeah.
that's good.
It's because I know you were doing stuff. Parker's obviously busy enough to not even be here. Obviously, he's got some stuff to take care of, and I'm like
Sure.
dealing with this fucking cat. Like we fostered a new cat, because our last cat died, and the one that we have left, we felt like he needs a buddy. But it's funny because maybe he doesn't. You know what I mean? Like in our heads, like I think you're so programmed to be like, hey, you know what? Our cat needs a friend,
Yeah.
but since we brought this new cat in, she's 3, and he's 5, and it's like I'm thinking he's probably looking at us, going like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?"
Yeah.
Like
This
I was,
place was cool
yeah,
before.
this play, like I was doing okay, and you brought home this fucking 3-year-old fucking abandoned cat that wants to kill me. And anytime that we let her out around him, she tries to swat him. So we're like, we don't know what to do.
Yeah,
2 weeks.
that's a tough one.
Yeah, for sure. Because if we like we thought that was the way to go, and we feel bad. Like we decided to
Well,
do
it's
the
a 50-50, man. They can't talk. It could have
yeah,
worked out well,
yeah,
and it
to-
didn't.
totally. But you know, so that's what I've been doing for the last 2 weeks, and I wanted to kind of get up with you just to throw something up because it's April 2nd, so 3 months have gone by in 2022, and there's a bunch of shit because sometimes we don't do episodes where we talk about movies that you've seen or stuff like that. So it's like,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
good to do like quarterly in the year.
yeah.
I
So
think so.
there's a lot of stuff to kind of really get to. Like I really want to just talk about the stupidity that was the Oscars, but not so much like we have to talk about the slap, which was whatever, but I don't know if you have people on your timeline that refuse to believe that it's real.
Uh, I work with some, and I have seen people on there
Yeah,
that
it's like what like just picture me being Will Smith and you're Chris Rock, and I'm just like, hey, listen, I know we're both, like our careers are both in the gutter. The Oscars are not doing well, so I think we should take it upon ourselves as the greatest comedian of all time and one of the biggest actors of all time. I feel like we should take it upon ourselves. You should make fun of my wife's alopecia. I'll make pretend I'm very angry. I'll smack you, and then everybody will tune in. Cool.
yeah, tune in next year because it
Next year.
happened
Yeah.
in the show like that time. There's a lot of people out there that everything has some dark reason behind it and stuff. And I'd say to these people, I'm like, sometimes things just happen. They really just happen. Everything isn't orchestrated, but there's this is a lot of the mentality going on in this country, and it stems from political issues and this and that. That like, you know, they always have to look on some nasty motive underneath things, and to set up these impossible situations that so many people would have to be in on that make it work. It's just ridiculous.
But it's also like them. They want to not they're probably so tired of being fooled
But
that they're like, oh, not this time, not
no,
this time.
I'm gonna blow the lid off this story.
I'm jumping out in front of this one.
Yeah,
And I'm thinking, like, what's the motives? It's like I mentioned it on Facebook where I said some people like they'll be convinced that the 2020 election was fixed. Like that seems believable, but when you get to like Will Smith, who's been the butt of a joke for 3 years,
yeah,
loses his cool and like smacks Chris Rock, like that's the unbelievable one right there. It's
yeah.
like, no, that can't
No,
be real.
it
It's
was
like,
clear. Chris Rock cracked a joke. He laughed. He looked at her because he's kind of he's a
yeah,
little bitch a little bit. He's
yeah,
got played out by his wife on TV, saw the signal that she wasn't having it, or was all pissed off. So he reacted in this knee jerk way. It's ridiculous. But I love Chris Rock and fuck Will Smith. I just I couldn't tell you one Will Smith thing that I've ever enjoyed.
Independence Day.
I almost walked out of Independence Day. I thought it was a horrible fucking movie. It
really
was stupid. Yeah.
What are you, Jerry Smith?
I just hate America.
Yeah.
No, it's roll your eyes, like Michael Bay-ish kind of like stupidity. Like it's it's just fucking, it's a dumb movie, and that's all he makes is dumb movies. And
he made a movie that I really liked. Collateral Beauty. That movie was amazing. And people like I could hear like Chris Longito.
I don't even know it.
It's really good.
I've never even heard of it.
But it's ensemble.
The title of it sounds like some generic thing, like to me. Like you say, you got to see Collateral Beauty, and it's just
no explosion.
Who's in that? Tom Cruise or
totally.
Ben Affleck? Like what?
Oh no,
what is it?
Who? J.K. Rowling's? No, J.K. Simmons. That guy. He's in everything. I love him. Yeah. And Michael Pena. Those two guys are in everything. But like to finish off with this, like I just want to say, like they'll be like, well, why did Chris Rock stick his face at? And I'm thinking like, yo, he's in an award show, and how many times do people mess around? It's like, oh, he didn't like the joke. Okay, he's gonna come over and like pretend to like slap me or like something like like dumb. Like it's like, oh, like at roast, it's like they'll come over and they'll be like, I'm gonna beat you up, like dumb shit. And when Will actually did it hard, Chris Rock's face was like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah, and it's a freeze frame picture of him with his face kind of out. If you watch it in context, it's not like he leaned out like, please slap my face.
No, he was just like, okay, I'm a bad comedian. Go ahead, like give me like that tap. Like it's like one of those things where,
Yeah, and I don't know Chris Rock personally, but I've seen enough of interviews with him and this and that I just find it hard to believe he'd agree to get clowned like that. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
sign up for that. Fuck that.
And now you're telling me that coincidentally now he has tour dates? Come on, Brian, wisen up. It's like,
I wish it was Chappelle or Rogan, because they could have fought back.
I genuinely would not. He wouldn't have done that. Like he wouldn't have done. He would not have done that. So, but another thing I wanted to mention too, which was like overshadowed, was fucking Taylor Hawkins. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
like that's crazy.
It's 50's way too young, man.
Like this guy was on top of the world in the greatest, like the biggest rock band on the planet. They just released a horror movie, which we covered. They released that metal album, Dream Widow. Pretty.
That was like the week before.
Did you listen to that record?
Yeah, that's the best Foo Fighters record ever made.
It's fucking like Venom meets Motorhead.
Yeah. Well, he knows his shit. I mean, that Probot record. I tell people that all the time. Some people don't even know about that record. It's just like, yo, that record's legit, man. But it's terrible. But you never know, what demons and what people are going through, and behind the scenes, and it's just a shame,
Yeah, it's really like it's bizarre to like, because I guess like I said, I just look at this guy like you're on top of the world. Like you're on top of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like you and Dave Grohl could do anything you want. And on top of the fact that it's not even like it wasn't earned. These guys were super talented. Like their first two records did okay. I don't even know when they started becoming huge, but it wasn't for a very long time.
It was Everlong, Monkey Ranch, whatever album that was.
But even that,
My Hero, that was the biggest.
The Color and the Shape.
Yeah.
But even then, like they still had problems. That guitar player they got rid of. A lot of member changes. Pat Smear left the band for the first time. But it's just amazing. They just
this is the end of them, probably, right? Like I would think Grohl.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I could see Grohl launching something else or something, because I know he was like tightest with that guy, right? In the band, like
They
they were.
seem to be like any interview. It was always just like them two
It wouldn't
hanging out.
shock me if they continued. It wouldn't shock me if he started something else.
Something
I don't know.
else. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, but anyway, those were a couple of things I wanted to
yeah.
mention. I don't know if you wanted to jump in with something.
No, that's. I mean, just I got some stuff written down here that I've been. I mean, I haven't gotten to the theater as much as you. I was supposed to go see X. It fell apart. I'm still gonna try. I only got limited time here left, but I have watched a lot of things streaming. I got some music choices here, but maybe I know you just seen X. If you
I
want to start with that,
Man, I thought so. I went to go see it super late. Even Karen, like my girlfriend, didn't. She's like, I think it opening day at like Friday. I probably went at like the 10:30 show, and she's like, I'm not gonna be awake, and I'm like,
Mm.
I'm going because I don't know when else I'm gonna have the time. So I just went. Um, Really cool. Like a lot of people kept saying Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but when you watch it, it's pretty much nothing like that whatsoever.
Mhm. I
But
think it's is it shot in like a grainy? It's got like a grindhousey
very
kind of feel.
Grindhouse and Texas. Those are the two similarities, and like
Yeah,
a group full of people.
right.
But other than that, it's just like, Ty West is one of those dudes that like I thought House of the Devil looked really cool, but I thought the movie was fucking terrible.
He's pretty polarizing in the horror community. If you're kind of on board or you're, half. Like I know I love the House of the Devil and I love the Innkeepers, even though a lot of people didn't. You hear the term slow burn probably way too much, but he
This
is
was
definitely that kind of a director. That's his thing, and it works as long as the payoff is there at the end. You're willing to take that ride,
That's all. That's really what it is. It's about the payoff. You could do a slow burn, like it's like Starry Eyes. You think of a movie like Starry Eyes, super slow burn, but the imagery, the atmosphere was amazing. And for the last 30 minutes of that movie, you're like, holy shit. So,
Or you could talk about The Witch
ha,
on a slow
yes.
burn, and
So,
then nothing still
and then
happens,
nothing. Yeah.
and then you're angry.
Maybe in the sequel something will happen to the witch, but
Oh, I can't wait.
this was great. It looked great. I love the cast. I never knew the name Mia Goth, but she's like
Oh
the
yeah,
yeah, I didn't
she's
know.
like that albino looking girl, right?
She kind of
Can you say
looks,
that anymore? Is that
yeah.
like a bad word?
She's an albino appropriator, because I don't know if she just took the look. I don't know if she's really about that life.
She identifies as albino.
Yeah, her body does at least. But she's very good looking in this. She looks like the girl from Euphoria, Sydney Sweeney, mixed in with like someone like Christina Ricci. And so yeah, it's just like this. It's in 1979, and the porn, the porn film is kind of just like taken off. And this dude just decides like, hey, I really want to make a porn film. I'm gonna get a director, and we're all gonna make a ton of money off of this. And they decide to go to this place in Texas. They rent out this cabin from this old dude, and then it goes from there. And the direction is great, the cast is great, Kid Cudi is awesome in it. I fucking loved it. I know,
I
like
tell you,
Mark.
I listened to the score, and the
Yeah,
score is who's it? Tyler Bates and Chelsea Wolfe, who I love, did the score. And I haven't seen the movie, but I saw the score came out, so I listened to it, and very creepy, very dark. I dug that.
when you go see it, stay past the credits, because there's something there. um for, man, I don't even know how to say it, but stay past the credits for sure. But
Okay.
I loved it. I recommend definitely watching it in a movie theater. It's got the practical effects. It's just great. It's a really good horror movie, like very 70s sleaze. I'm trying to think of what to compare it to, but it just has a very grindhouse feel, but it not like in a jokey Planet Terror type of way, like in like a real way. Like it just,
Sure.
and the hair is on point, the cast is on point, like it looks like a real 70s movie. So
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sold because anything Grindhouse in that era and that
yeah,
look, all about. That's what my Tubi app mainly is. Was me watching those kind of grindhouse.
Tubi's out here doing the Lord's work.
It's the best fucking streaming service ever.
So, what do you got?
I watched actually. Well, I'll segue right into that. A couple of things I watched on Tubi. There was a documentary, 42nd Street Memories, about these aren't new things, obviously, but just in case there's so much stuff on there, people miss it. But
yeah,
just talking about those glory. Well, some would say the glory days, some would say horrible days of New York, in Times Square, in the theater district, and that world that completely erased off the earth if you go to Times Square, in the present day era. But it talks about the history of all these kind of films and the grindhouse films and exploitation films, and which also segues to another documentary I saw on Tubi called Fascism on a Thread, about the Nazi exploitation genre, which is easily the most bizarre subgenre that came out, I think. You had your women's prison, you had your black exploitation. The fact that there was a Nazi one, and mostly these films are terrible. The big ones you've heard of are Ilsa the She-Wolf, and but there are. I mean, this was like an hour and a half documentary about films I've never seen, and it's the kind of films like, wow, like you can't believe they exist. They tell you just enough about it, but like there's no point in watching it on your own, like beyond that, because it is pretty disgusting. Like, horrible that they even thought to do this, but again, I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah, listen, sometimes back then, like, you push buttons for a reason. Whatever people do online now, it's what people did on film back then. Sure. And 3 people saw it. And the thing about Tubi that I love is that, granted, they're not new. It's not 2022, but like I feel like Tubi is like the net that catches all the shit that you would like from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 3 years ago. Sure. Like the dude that we had on, the documentary guy, it was like, that Underground Inc. movie came out like a couple of years ago, but I missed it. And like, I'm telling you, show me another streaming site for people like us that has a better, like the documentaries on Tubi TV are, like, it's like I'm like, I want to watch every single one of these.
Sure. I know. It's I just watched the Mentors documentary the other night.
I tried. I couldn't finish it.
No, but yeah, it's terrible. But, but they're terrible,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the movies that slip through. You got these mammoth Netflixes and Primes. They're not going to waste the bandwidth carrying, some like trashy. Like I watched a movie called Massage Parlor Murders, shot in Times Square, that I got from one of these documentaries, 42nd Street Memory. I'm like, oh my God, I've never seen that one. I got to see that.
Yeah.
It's shot in 70s New York. It's completely trashy. It ain't going to be on Netflix ever. But thank God that this thing exists to catch these movies that fall through the cracks.
Yeah, it's, that's what, like, the mom and pop shop, like when I lived in Queens and I was super young, I was allowed to rent whatever I wanted, whether it was like Gorgon video type shit. And like, sure. I would end up renting like Psychos in Love or Microwave Massacre, these movies that are so bad that I would watch it when I was like 5, 6, or 7, just sitting there watching this stuff that had like the production value, like, of, I don't even know what. It's just so outrageous. And when you're a kid watching something with like low production value, it almost looks real, so it hit harder. Where I'm just like, this is just almost too gross, because I feel like somebody's being killed in this.
Sure.
And now when you watch it and you're like, this is so terrible. It looks so fake.
What else you got, man?
All right, so I'm gonna go with the latest Scream movie, which came out like in January, kind of blew me away. Here's a franchise that, after the first movie, this is a franchise that did not need to be. If Scream 1 was the only Scream movie that ever existed, it would probably still be like respected, and like, it's just like, holy shit, like a game changer. I feel like enough of the sequels came out and they kind of like just turned it into more of like a joke. 2, 3 are fine. 4, I thought, kind of blew me away. That was 2011. And they, you always want to get to the end because they tie it in like the way Saw does. Like, you're at the end and you're watching the end of whatever Scream installment, and then they explain why they did. And you're just like, this is ridiculous. But like, that's what you're waiting for. It's like to find out who the killer is or who the killers are and why they did it. But so this one, I don't know. This one hit hard. I loved it. Jenna Ortega, who's in X, she was in Studio 666, and now this. She seems to be all over the place. She's in it. The blonde girl, like she was in Planet Terror, the nurse with the syringes. Courtney Cox and her not Courtney Cox face. I don't know who she is. It might not even be her at this point. I don't even know. Yeah. She might be like MF Doom, just sending in like Courtney Cox imposters. But the one thing that I will say about this is very entertaining. The kills were great because Ghostface is such a joke for these sequels because he's like a bumbling idiot, and when they go to kill, like the kills are just extra brutal, practical effects, like just great. Like there was some great tension, and then it goes back to like the plots and the subplots, and I don't know, for if you like, this is my favorite Scream movie since Scream 1. So anyone that gives a shit, take that for what it's worth. It's currently up on Paramount Plus for anyone that wants to watch it. So
nice. All right. Let's see. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention In Search of Tomorrow, which it was great that we got screeners of this film. It's made by the people that did the In Search of Darkness horror documentaries, which we absolutely loved. Part 1, Part 2. This was basically giving science fiction the same treatment it gave horror. Same setup, same formula, some talking heads. I love how they show all the boxes, the covers of all the movies and zoom in. I'm like, where are they going to land on? I'd love that little feature. And I pick up all kinds of different tidbits of information that I never knew. Like that Wilford Brimley was 50 when they made Cocoon. I'm going to turn 50 in a year. And that really blew my fucking mind. But regardless, it's a 5-hour film, and the time will just fly by if you enjoy these kind of documentaries. I can't say enough good things about it. I'm sure they'll make a part 2. I hope they make a part 2 and then a lot of times too, like what impresses me about this film crew is, and their name is slipping my memory. I hope you know it offhand.
Creator VC.
Yes. Like I thought I knew every horror movie basically like that ever fucking got made, and during the horror ones, they dropped a couple. I was like, Jesus, how did I miss that? And then I had to go find it. And this one covers a lot of the big ones, E.T., stuff like that. But every now and then they drop something. I'm like, oh, God, that came out in my wheelhouse. How did I miss that one?
Mega Force was one, like stuff like that, where you so listen, thank you, Creator VC, because like that's one of the coolest things we ever got to do as a podcast. Was them offering that to us. I had to reread the email like 4 times to be like, wait, us? Like, really? Okay. And here's a funny thing. So I went to New Orleans a couple of weeks ago, and on the plane ride back, I'm trying to hook up to the Wi-Fi. I'm thinking like, okay, let me knock out some of this. Like, I think I was an hour in, and we're flying back, and obviously Wi-Fi on a plane is always terrible. I don't know, maybe because I'm not flying first class, but I clicked onto this link like 5 or 6 times, and the last time it said, okay, you've used all your time. You used all your ones. And I was like, oh, all right. So I never even finished it because I used up all my time like up in the air during turbulence, being like, please play. So, but the first hour and a half is just absolutely amazing. It's fun to see Steve DeJarnette talk about Cherry 2000 and Miracle Mile, I'm sure later on. But yeah, man, it's those guys are taking the like I mean, that's just a visual mixtape of the best order.
They're making film documentaries for real cinephiles. Like that can't like an hour and a half just isn't enough for us. Like we
No.
just really dig deep and then make another 5 hour one and I'll sit there for that. It's for the heads, strictly for the heads.
Strictly for the heads. So I'm gonna mention another movie which I saw in the theater, which I love, the new Jackass movie. Fucking great.
I'm watching that tonight with my son, actually.
Okay, so do you have Paramount or are you gonna rent it?
I'm gonna rent it.
All right. So saw this in theaters, and it's just great. Like I love they added new people. Some of the guy, like one of the guys from Odd Future, I was like, this is the most random ad ever. You know, Tyler Creator, like all these people are just hanging out, and just the stunts are great. Very funny, just great intro. You'll see. Like I'm trying not to give away too much, even though there's not much, to give away. But it hits the way 2 did. 1 was good, 3 was good, 2 and 4 are just exceptionally good. You're gonna love it. So that's up on Paramount Plus.
They've never steered me wrong yet.
Yep.
All right, let's see. I gotta mention HBO Max has been really good this year. I've been watching, if you haven't seen, The Righteous Gemstones. Danny McBride doing his Danny McBride thing and the Danny McBride character, which I never get sick of. Eastbound and Down, Foot Fist Way, Vice Principals. Outstanding. The whole cast is outstanding. You got John Goodman in it, basically a preacher family, if you haven't seen it, and the corruption that goes on and how, they're not the way they are on the TV and evangelical broadcasts, etc., and the rivalries that go on there. And I really got to shout out the breakout star of that show is Edie Patterson, who plays his sister, and she is the funniest. I mean, hysterically fucking funny. She is going to blow the fuck up. But it's such a great show. I love season 1, but season 2, amazing.
So that's a show that I need to start watching because I watched the first episode of the first season. I just never went back to it. Great cast, and I feel like people like the first season, but people really talked about the second season way more to the point where I'm like, all right, maybe I need to watch it because every week people are like, holy shit, this show is so fucking funny. I love Adam Devine. I love McBride. Like I never get tired of his thing because it's just like it's a thing that he does. And it's funny you bring up the Foot Fist Way, which a lot of people have never seen, but it's like probably the first time I saw him, like
that was his Express. Breakout.
Yeah.
When Will Ferrell, I think that crew put out Foot Fist Way, I believe. Discovered him or whatnot. But yeah, that basically gives the blueprint of how he's going to do comedy to his career, and it never misses.
And that was like an interesting time too. That was like, there was a time that was like the middle point, like where some movies didn't make it to the theater, but like Blockbuster would pick them up. And they were kind of like in the middle, and you're like, oh, this is interesting. These guys made this movie, and we all know them. Like, I thought, like, Grandma's Boy was like that, Foot Fist Way, Idiocracy. Like, these, like, in-between movies where you're just like, I don't ever remember seeing this in the theater, but, like, it's like, you're like...
It's kind of like Tubi,
Yeah.
It slips through the cracks.
Yeah, and it was like...
gets a second life.
For sure. But yeah, HBO Max, I'll go to that. So it's going to be very hard this year to top these 2 shows for me. The first one being Euphoria. The second season of Euphoria, did you watch any of them?
Nah.
You haven't watched any of them?
Nah.
Wow. Okay. Do you plan on?
Probably not.
Really?
I don't know. It's like... I know people that like love it, but there's so much shit to watch. I don't know if the premise like really grabs me.
Yeah, it doesn't. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't read the premise. Like, it does. The premise doesn't even matter.
I got you.
It's fucking like, I can't think of another show that's gonna top this one this year.
I know Sydney Sweeney's hot as fuck. I do know that.
But I'm telling, it's just like fucking, I can't even, like, the cinematography, the fucking soundtrack. Like Sam Levinson, who's Barry Levinson's son,
Mhm.
made the show, and he's just fucking this like deranged genius. And the second season picks up right where the first season left off, and you get like Ashtray and Fezco, like those two, like I can't say enough about it, but like that to me right there, like Euphoria season 2, that's like last year when we talked about the DJ Muggs and Rome Streets album. Like when
Mhm.
that came out, I'm like, okay, this is gonna sit here until someone knocks it off. That's where Euphoria season 2 is right now for TV shows of the year, where it's like, okay, you're there, and until I see something better than that, that's where you're gonna be on top. So
Right.
I couldn't recommend it more, especially if you've seen season 1 and are still kind of catching up. So
You said 2 shows, right? You were gonna mention?
yeah, I mean, I'll mention the second show right now.
Sure, why not?
Peacemaker.
Okay.
So I watched Suicide Squad, but I had no one like I don't care. Like I don't like anytime I see something is attached to a comic book, like to me it never registers. Like I don't
Me
care
me too,
at
man.
all. And the only thing that hit me was, oh, James Gunn made this. I'm like, all right, and it's on HBO. Okay. And then I put it on and I fucking loved it. Like Sylvester Stallone plays a shark. But it's basically so James Gunn, who made Slither, and obviously he's from the Trauma universe. Um, it's like basically like a guy from Trauma that got millions of dollars to make a movie. That's what it is. And Suicide Squad came out, and one of the characters was Peacemaker, played by John Cena, who's a wrestler or was a wrestler or whatever, but he's really fucking funny.
Yeah.
And then so I didn't really understand what Peacemaker was the show. I'm like, I maybe it's attached to it, and it was. It's basically a sequel to the movie as to for his character as to what happened to him, and it was directed by James Gunn. I'm like watching this shit, and James is really good at picking soundtracks. Guardian of the Galaxy and all these other things are really much known for their soundtracks, and he decides to go to an untapped resource, which is 80s hair metal. Like he's picking deep cuts from like Faster Pussycat, Pretty
Nice.
Boy Floyd. You're talking about like Hanoi Rocks, like things that are just so ridiculously not like it's one of those universes that I feel like he's like, okay, no one talks about this anymore, and they're not going deep enough, and like it's just like I can't, yo, it's so good. The intro to the show, I can't like if you know the show and you know the intro, no one's ever skipped the intro. Every time we watch the show, we leave the intro because there's a song by a band called Wigwam.
Mhm.
Do you want to taste it? And it's just one of the catchiest songs on the planet. Yo, Peacemaker is so much fucking fun. It's just there's like aliens, there's like pure violence, splatter. It's very much like the James Gunn from Slither making a
Nice.
movie, and it's 1 and 2. Euphoria and Peacemaker are definitely my 2 favorite shows that I've seen this year. So
Nice. All right. And I'll real quick, because we've been going so heavy on HBO and we have so much to mention in such a short amount of time, I will mention Winning Time, the Lakers story. Very much
I gotta
enjoying
start
that.
it.
Uh, I Quincy Isaiah, I believe his name is, that plays Magic Johnson. I was looking him up. I think this is his first like major project, and he's absolutely crushing it for
Really?
like an unknown. I mean, he's got all the mannerisms down. Even if you're not a sports fan, you probably still enjoy it. A lot of behind the scenes stuff. John C. Riley's killing it. Very great. Um, so yeah, I'll shift gears over to Netflix. That a couple of gullible people, true crime kind of shows. The Tinder Swindler and Bad Vegan. Did you
So
see
good.
both of those?
I saw both. Yep.
Yeah. Fascinating study. A lot of times, people's complaint with Netflix, some of those limited series, they stretch it like a little bit far and stuff. But
I thought Tinder could have been wrapped up in 3.
a little, yeah. It's usually like one episode they can shave
But
off.
it's not bad. Even Bad Vegan, same thing. And the thing with Bad Vegan is like, boy, did I end up not liking that girl just as much as the guy.
Oh yeah. Totally, dude.
Like,
And it's still, I have so many questions. I mean, like, she's obviously a bright person. She's launched this business, and the you know what I mean, like a very successful business in Manhattan, and a unique concept, and launched it into another thing. She's obviously no dummy, but the fact that this like dude that looks like a total herb, like, how did he got this dime and
yeah.
like sold her on this bullshit, which is like insane bullshit. Like, live forever, you and your dog live forever. Like, where the fuck did this guy? How many like times did this guy pump this shit out and like strike out before he got someone to bite on this
He was
bullshit?
one for 99.
It's insane. And then by the end, he's like morbidly obese, and she's
Yeah.
still with him, and
Yeah.
like
Eating Dominoes or something.
yeah, and gave him like so much. I mean, you want to like jump through your TV and strangle this person. You know what I mean? It's and it's just at a certain point, you're like, yeah, you know, okay, you got taken the minute, but then like the sympathy goes away by the quickly by the end of it. You know,
I'm like, wait, you ended up in Vegas on the run, but what did you didn't do anything wrong? I don't understand. You know what I mean?
He didn't have you like gunpoint. I'm gonna kill your like whatever. Like, you just went along with this shit. Like, you know, you could have bailed.
Absolutely absurd. That was good. It was definitely like not as good as the Tinder Swindler.
No, the Tinder Swindler was much better.
That dude, I'm just like, you gotta be fucking kidding me with this guy right now. He was just like the stories. Yeah. Oh, I mean, just unreal. Like the pictures. Also, Inventing Anna. That's another one.
I haven't seen that one yet. But
so that was the story. So once again, HBO Max had this series called Generation Hustle. I think it was like 6 or 8 true crime stories. So it was just like basically people who got over on a group of people. And the Anna Delvey or Sorkin, whatever hour, was the first time I ever heard of this girl. And I was like, oh my God. But they told such a small piece of the story. The series with the girl from Ozark really fucking stretched it out, and I guess it showed her beginning, middle, and end, and really good, really good. And if you listen to interviews from that girl Anna, and then listen to the actress do her role, it was very similar. But it's just these people are such good hustlers, because I'm like, how the fuck? You got to just not give a fuck. You got to
hustle is exhausts me. Like to keep that up. Like, this dude would hustle, you know, be like laying groundwork with one girl off a hustle from another girl, and oh my God, like
it's amazing.
If he put his mind to good, the guy probably would have been like.
So Anna is basically the female Tinder Swindler. It's the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Like she had that same hustle, and it was like. Yeah, it's just amazing. But like I love that. I love that all these stories that I heard, whether it's like WeWork or the Uber shit, or like all these stories. What is that Amanda Seyfried movie? No, the TV show with the girl. God, I forgot the name. But there's a lot of cool stuff coming out.
Sure.
I watched a good true crime one. I didn't know that the actor in Austin Powers. You know, the big, like the strong Asian dude with the hat.
Okay.
So he actually went to jail for like raping and attempted murder. But like, so he did this shit and got away with it forever. And then years later, I guess there was like DNA that came out. So she's telling the story about like, you know, being like beat up and raped and all this other shit when she was like 14.
Mm-hmm.
And like years later, I guess the DNA came up, and it was this fucking dude. And it just so happens that he's an actor and a UFC fighter, Joe Sun, something like that. But if you're listening, or for you, like if you go to Google and you type up Joe Sun, you know, the name Joe Sun, SON documentary, like the 48 hours episode comes up on Daily Motion, and you could just watch it from there. Just zap it to your fucking TV. It was just really like crazy to think like DNA, like you have this movie and this dude in this movie that did this heinous fucked up shit, and we're all watching it. She had the movie. She had Austin Powers the movie. When she found out it was him, she like burned it. She couldn't believe it. You know,
God.
pretty fucking crazy. And the guy that
Yeah.
the guy that helped him, tried to like, he didn't really get too involved, but he like tried to like start over. He had a family. It was like all this, like it's just crazy. Like crazy to just imagine, you know, you commit this, you know, you assist in this like awful act, and you're like, all right, I can't believe I ever did that. And like 25 years later, they're explaining it to your family what you did, and you're like, my bad, my bad.
Wow.
Yo, viva la true crime though. So
Yes, can't get enough of it. And I guess I should shift gears here. I'd like to drop a couple of some music that I've been digging this first quarter of the year.
yep.
I'll start on the hip hop front.
Before you do
Because
that, I'm sorry. Before you
yeah,
do that, because that's all I have left actually. So
okay,
I have music left, but I have one TV show that I did want to mention.
go ahead.
Apple TV has the show Severance.
Oh yeah,
Severance is fucking bugged out. Severance looks like the electronics from the 80s, but it's very futuristic in its concept. Ben Stiller directed. Do you know anything about it?
I read. I'm definitely going to start it. I was just finishing up Servant, that other show on
Okay, yeah.
Apple, and
Yep.
then I'm going to start that.
Okay, very
Go
good. So basically it's very Black Mirror. Very Black Mirror, where you want to sever yourself from work. So I guess there's a procedure that allows you to have what they call an innie, which is the innie goes to work and the outie lives outside of work. So you have no recollection once you leave the office as to what, like, it's like two of you living separate lives, and the other one is this one that never leaves work. It's always in there, and he has coworkers, they have coworkers, she has coworkers, and it's like it's the type of show where it just peels away the story till you figure out what's going on. And it's a fucking trip, man. It's just a really fucking interesting trip. Adam Scott's great in it. Patricia Arquette's in it. John Turturro, Christopher Walken. Very dark, twisted, funny sci-fi. I wanted to
Nice.
mention that. Yeah.
I'm on it. Yeah. So just last week, this guy had dropped a B-sides album off this album he's released earlier, and it's Husk Kingpin. He did Bjork Kingpin this year. Last year was Portishead tribute, basically. This one is to Bjork, and he just dropped a B-sides record that's amazing, just as amazing as the A-sides
He's
record.
killing it.
And
He's killing it.
it's the thing I like the best of it. Obviously, I love Portishead. I love Bjork. I love that 90s trip hoppy, whatever, for lack of a better term. But really, what amazes me, the production. It's not just like taking like an obvious Bjork or Portishead thing and just putting a boom bap on it or something like that. They are really dissecting, taking minimal parts, if anything, and even like a song might have like pagan poetry or Hunter or something like that. Songs that are very recognizable by Bjork, and it's got the title by Husk Kingpin, but you don't recognize the melody of the original song. But there's little stuff in there, and it's very clever, very original. And I hope he continues this theme because I am enjoying it. It's great.
He's killing it for sure. Like the stuff that he does, it's funny when you watch someone take on these projects that you're like, okay, you fucked with everything we fucked with.
Yeah,
like you fucked
exactly.
with this, and then now you're flipping it into something.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna mention OT the Real. This record came out last year. I didn't really start listening to it till like this year, I believe. It's called Broken Glass, and it's him and DJ Green Lantern, and it's just, I mean, OT the Real's from Philly, and when you listen to these bars, this dude, I mean, it just sounds like I feel like I'm gonna catch a case by just listening to these songs. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a co-conspirator. He's got Benny the Butcher on this song called Coke and Guns, which I love. Millie's is on a song called Go to War. Just really, really fucking good. Just like the next step from Griselda or like Mobb Deep. It's just pure drug music, but done very well. And he has an interesting voice and flow. But OT the Real, Broken Glass, just this is like from Gorilla Monsoon to this makes sense.
Yeah.
It's very much on par.
Speaking of Griselda, I got to drop Conway the Machine, God Don't Make Mistakes record too.
Yeah.
Have you ever? Do you remember a time when like a crew was so prolific that is put? Do you remember how long you'd wait between one of your band's records, the hip hop like Tribe or something back in the day?
Yeah.
These dudes are putting out like 5-10 records in a 2-year period, and there's no filler.
Yeah.
They're great. You know what I mean? Like, how long can these guys keep this shit up? It's insane. They're on a tear.
I don't know how long. That's a good question.
It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's great. It's if you like that sound, you're gonna love that record.
I will also, if we want to continue with that, I'm gonna say Benny, Tana Talk 4, for sure. Like same thing. It's just got the J. Cole song on there. He did a song called 10 More Crack Commandments, where he just added 10 more to Biggie's. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just fucking great. Like, it's so good. I think Derringer did the whole record. And it just, I feel like Benny, I don't know, they're all really good, but there's something about Benny for me, like when he's very easy to understand and like very simple, but like the shit he flips is just great. So I'll throw that in there.
Yeah, and I'll drop one real quick because I'll be doing all hip hop. I got a couple of rock things to drop.
Me too. Yep.
DJ Muggs might have did it again at the beginning of the year with that gold record, like he did last year.
Yep.
I love that record. It's amazing. That same dark production that we've come to get from Muggs. It's killer. It's got Rome Streets. It's got all the people featured on it. It's if you haven't heard it, and you like Muggs, you got to go there. But I will drop. One of my favorite little surprises was Yellow Wolf and Shooter Jennings album that came out this year. I didn't know much about Yellow Wolf. I guess he does a little bit of everything, but this is a rock record. This is a mashup of everything. Like this album, it's got some country, it's got rock, it's got some hip hop in it, it's got everything, but it's done really well. And for fans that have an eclectic taste of music, it scratches a lot of itches, and I was really blown away by it. I can't remember the name of it.
Yellow Wolf. Like if you listen to his older stuff, like he is a fucking rapper and a half.
Yeah,
like he is unbelievably talented, and I think after a
Sometimes Why, that's the name of the record.
Yeah, so he is stretching out. He's super Southern, super Alabama. I believe that's where he's from. So I think he's kind of stretching his legs out into other things right now.
It's great because really hip hop guys branching into rock music traditionally has not gone well. I got to say, the batting average isn't great. When, if you look at a Lil Wayne or Machine Gun Kelly, I guess he's doing successful, but I mean, he's a lot of people clowning on that kid, you know what I mean? But it usually doesn't go well. But this guy, if you're real sincere about it, I think, and it's not just like a obvious marketing cash to try something else like this, the Yellow Wolf's the real deal.
The real deal for sure. Super talented. So I'll just mention a couple of rock records, which I fucking love. Hot Water Music's one of my favorite bands, and they came back with something called Feel the Void, and it's probably their best in a very, very long time. I'm gonna say, geez, I don't know, maybe in 15 years. Like they just seem very rejuvenated, kind of crushing it. Just I don't know, like really cool post-punk fucking type shit that I fucking love. I love the band Spoon. They have a record called Lucifer on the Sofa. Britt Daniels, one of my favorite fucking songwriters, one of my favorite singers, and just just really cool songwriting. Superchunk, one of my favorite bands again. I mean, this band's been killing it for Jesus Christ, I don't even know how fucking long, like 35 years. They put out a mellow record called Wild Loneliness, which I've been digging. And I got one more here. I'm trying to remember the name of the new Pup album. Let's see. Okay, so Pup from Canada put out a record called The Unraveling of Pup the Band. And it makes sense. And when you listen to these songs, it's a lot of like band chemistry type thing and like fighting, a lot of like the lyrics, but it's like very like funny, but goddamn do they know how to write a hook. So those are some records that I've been loving.
All right, I'm gonna drop a couple real quick too in the rock field. The stuff that King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard has been putting out this year, another eclectic band, psychedelic kind of rock, whatever you want to call it, from Australia. They're doing some good stuff. Ghosts Imperia album, which I did not love the first listen. Every listen after that, I liked it more, and I just really love that band. You talk about the image, the sound, the whole package. I dig it. I buy into it. I love the hooks. It's great. But yeah, each listening I like it a little bit more. A band called Mammoth Weed Wizard Bastard made an album called The Harvest. It's a metal album, but it's got a lot of shoegaze elements to it. Some female vocals mixed with a real heavy. It's got some doom in it. It's hard to explain, but again, another eclectic piece of heavy music. Meshuggah just put out the Immutable record, and Meshuggah, if you're a fan of Meshuggah, you probably already know about it. If you're not a fan of Meshuggah, you probably never will be. This band is, you either like this shit or you do not. I like it. It challenges my ear. It's got one of my favorite drummers in the world, Thomas Hockey, Frederick Thorndenhall, one of my favorite, plays jazz solos over this music, and I get to play Find the One when I'm driving on the way home. That's my favorite game, Find the One in the Meshuggah song.
That's fun.
But if you like them, it gives you more of what you like. And then a band called Rot TV, which I never heard of before. Very straightforward, if you like New York Dolls and 70s kind of New York rock and stuff. It's called Tales of Torment. It's I never heard of them before. It's great. And then just two things I'm keeping my eye on that I just have singles from. I was surprised Bauhaus put out a song this year. Came up in my Spotify feed. I did not even know they were making something new. So I'll be keeping an eye out for that. And Opeth put out a song. Did not know they were putting out anything new. More of that prog rock kind of, they're never going to go back to that death metal-y kind of sound. They've made just as many records doing the prog rock sound, but I dig it. And I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. So that's what I got.
So I got a couple of things here. Showtime is crushing it. The new Cypress Hill documentary looks fucking. Did you see the trailer?
I did, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be fucking great. Just here's a band that has a history that you could cover, So Esteban Oriol, who also directed that what was that documentary we love, LA Original. So he's the guy that's featured in that and taking the pictures. It's basically a documentarian, like a guy that was like around in the beginning of Cypress Hill and House of Pain and took footage of everything. And now he's putting all this stuff to good use. The band Failure seem to be putting out a documentary because they released like a 6-minute trailer of it. So I thought that was interesting, and speaking of Machine Gun Kelly, I just want to close off by saying, like, fuck. I came to the realization I was holding on so hard into the Stern world, and I'm listening to fucking Stern talk to Machine Gun Kelly. And listen, I still listen to Stern every day, and I get it. Like, it's just he's an old guy. But listening to the Machine Gun Kelly interview, I was like, I think I'm done. Like, I think I'm done. Like, I think I'm okay with never, like if my Sirius runs out, like, I think this is not, like, just like.
I let mine go a few years ago, and, I got my Spotify in the car and stuff, and I've said goodbye. I don't get involved in shit talking him the way, like, a lot of fans, quote unquote, do, because I'll always be indebted to him
Yeah.
and love him for all
Yeah.
the amazing years of laughter and characters and TV and the movies and the books and all this joy that he's given me over my life. And he's a different person now, just like you are a different person from what you were 20 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever. That's what happens, you know. So I don't care to continue listening, but I love him for life, you know.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where like I was a defender from like, you know, I'm like, oh, listen, but just listening to this dude talk to someone that he probably has zero interest in talking to, just to have that audience. I'm like, I would rather listen to Debbie the Cum Lady. I would rather listen to High Pitch, Beetlejuice,
Well,
Bigfoot.
he used to like refuse those kind of guests because it wasn't sincere. Like he would like, you know, like the whole Ellen was always the big example when he used to clown on her dancing and everything like that. And then one day he's like, I look forward to you.
Yeah.
Dance. Like,
Yeah.
just, who are you, man? Like
Yeah.
you would never do that shit
Yeah.
at one point. Like what happened along the way? Like, you know,
Machine Gun Kelly broke me.
Yeah.
You know, he just like, I'm listening to this fucking guy give these answers that he thinks is like, he's doing his, like, you got to listen to the clips. He's doing like his best, like tortured rock star, like things like, yeah, you know, like, and then like, it's just like, people are like, hey man, like, I'm just like, yo, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is going on right now that like you're basically like sucking this, oh, Jesus Christ.
And that's why that kid, like, talking about reeking of insincerity, like his move to basically Eminem like destroyed that kid lyrically, like no matter what you say, like what anyone, not you, but like those two little, remember those exchanges whenever that was a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
And with Kill Shot or whatever the song M did that just laced him. It seemed like after that he went to the rock thing, and the Dirt movie really pushed him into that camp.
Maybe.
And I don't think it was about like a love of I need to express something in this other genre. It was like, I'm going to try to make some money over here. I see how they dress. Okay, let's put a spike on this jacket, put a patch. Okay, put that up. I see what they do. I could do this too, you know?
Yeah.
But that, you know, fans will smell that out and they'll clown you.
It's funny, man. But yeah, just when you mentioned him and he covered a System of a Down song on the show.
I heard that. That was like, terrible. And I don't even like System of a Down, but like,
it was just
that
weird.
Was awful.
But I'm thinking like you have like I thought he had like a pop punk career, so it was a strange pick that he would pick. I don't know. I'm just like listening to this. It was just horrific.
And he's smoking a joint while he's saying it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. I still listen to Howard 101 because they play all the old stuff. So
sure.
But they won't play Daniel Carver or any of the good stuff.
No, that's what YouTube's for. I still pull up my Gilbert clips on YouTube and classic Artie moments, and
during the
that's
news.
really where the show Artie. When Artie was gone, that's when things really. I didn't go right away, but that really took a lot of air out of the show for me.
Yeah,
you know,
that was the descent. I think the descent started there. And
he was the grounding element in keeping
it, just
keeping it real.
Keeping it real. I'm keeping it real because I'm keeping it real.
When keeping it real goes wrong.
Cool. All right. So an hour in the bag. Listen, you know, a lot of good suggestions in here. If you made it this far, congratulations.
We'll be back.